welcome back to another episode of Exposing Ourselves. My name is Travis Ritchie, and I am here with my compadre and good friend,
Matt Runquist.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm good, Travis. How are you?
I'm fantastic. This is the show where we expose each other to new things. Matt, a big music fan, will assign me one of his favorite albums or playlists to listen to each week, and I, a movie buff, will give him one of my favorite films, and we'll come together on this very podcast to discuss it all.
Oh, God, that's amazing. It sounds really good. I would love to listen to this podcast.
You're listening to it right now.
Inception.
Can you listen to something that you are currently inside of?
I think so. I think we've established that through cinema.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Well, I'm into it. I'm excited. We are recording this Sunday evening, and our newest episode just came out. We're a couple episodes ahead, so we're recording episode 5, and episode 2 just came out.
Yeah.
Do we need to have such a long lag, do you think, or should we upload a couple extra episodes to kind of maybe give ourselves one episode of lead time?
I think that you seem eager to get some episodes out into the world.
I'm excited. Well, especially since episode, I think, 2 and 3 are when I was up in Ojai, and I know that my audio wasn't very good, and I'm so excited that as of last episode, we seem to really get on board. Like we matched up with our audio levels and quality, and it sounds like a really good podcast. So I'm just eager for our potential fans to get to the point where we are at.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to talk about that because it does sound like a good idea, and we probably don't need 3 weeks of lag time. We're pretty diligent folk.
I think so. Well, tell me about your week, by the way, speaking of weeks.
My week has been very good. Things have been a little quiet at work, so I've had a time to do some creative projects around the home.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about.
No way, really? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So first of all, I purchased a very inexpensive guitar from the local resale shop and have completely disassembled it. And
really?
And am painting it and putting glitter on it.
Whoa.
Then I'm going to
for you?
Yeah, for me. And then I'm going to reassemble it. And then I'm going to have a glitter guitar. A glittar.
That's interesting. A glittar. I like that. A glitterous. What? I don't...
Mulva?
I just heard on Stephen Colbert that scientists have found out that snakes have clitorises.
Clitori.
Which is literally they have 2 apparently.
Oh, so, good. See,
they went from finding none of them to finding 2 of them.
Twice as good. I know that it's actually very difficult to sex snakes. I used to have a pet snake, and there is a thing that you can do which is extremely invasive to try to find out, but apparently success rate is still not 100%. So I think I had a male Argentine boa, but I'm not 100% sure.
And are snakes the same color? Like there's no differentiation that way with male and female?
Right.
Birds?
There's no sex differentiation that way. When they're full grown, the females are quite a bit larger than the males, but typically you'd like to know before the animal is 2 or 3 years old whether it's a boy or a girl.
I suppose. I imagine what it would be like if I hadn't known one way or the other for myself.
So the other creative project that I've been working on is I have been writing and recording 1 song per week. Solo
this is
dolo
what I'm excited about.
In my home studio, which is to say the basement that I'm currently recording in. And yeah. So would you like me to tell you the name of it?
I would, and I think yes, please tell me the name.
The name of the project is Panko Stankhole.
Okay, and tell me why.
Oh, because it's a New Year's resolution. I don't ordinarily come up with New Year's resolutions, or I don't routinely. But this year I've been wanting to be more creative and make new things. And so I decided to give myself a New Year's resolution to force myself to write 1 song a week. I came up with a list of topics or like basically seeds, like story seeds, for 52 weeks this year, and I am writing, recording, and publishing these things.
That's extraordinary. And I will say, like, I used to do a lot of sketch writing, and like writing one of everything every week is a challenge. But what I meant was, why Panko Stinkhole?
Oh, because it's funny. I just like to say Panko Stankhole. It sort of rhymes.
Does it mean something?
Well, so when
it sounds like a dish at IHOP.
So Amy was decorating a local production of Hedwig here in Milwaukee, and we had to create a bunch of band posters for the entryway into. It was in a black box, and so we made it look like a punk club. Well, she made it look like a punk club, but I helped her design some of the band posters, and we thought it would be funny to have like these just terribly named bands on the posters, and the worst one I could come up with was Panko Stankhole.
So you named your project
after an imaginary band for an imaginary rock star. Yes.
Wow. But that's not. So you haven't abandoned the band name that I came up for you for, I guess, your other band.
Oh, the cover band. Yeah, the cover band. The cover band is no practice, only play. Sometimes originally styled as no pop, but I think we've all agreed, which is to say, Amy and I have agreed to call it Nopey Opie.
Nopey Opie. Yay. Okay, good, because that gave me so much joy.
Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome,
fun to say.
bud.
I apparently love names that are fun to say, because I think it's fun to say Panko Stankhole too.
And that, I mean, I will talk a little bit about that later with the band that you chose to give me for this week was Yeasayer. And when you gave it to me, I think my brain heard Sayer and kind of interpreted it as Slayer and kind of thought it was a dark name. But actually, Yeasayer is the opposite of Naysayer. So it's actually a very positive name. And that really delights me.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, what have you been up to this week?
Well, a lot. So I'm back in LA. I guess I was back in LA last week, but I signed yesterday or the day before my new publishing contract.
Oh,
what?
I was guessing Soul. I was guessing that you were signing your Soul away, but it was just a publishing contract.
You know, if the devil offered me, this is along the lines of having sex with my clone, or killing my clone. Wait, no, I would also have sex with my clone, but no, killing my clone was the quote that we used. I would absolutely sell my soul for a better career, because why not? I don't. But no. So I signed my new publishing contract. So now I have 2 new book series that I'm responsible for, in addition to the Decimus sequels. And so that's a lot of fun. So one of those book series is the Inspector Chronicles book series, based on the web series that I did, which was based on the role that I had on the TV show Community. And the other book series is called the Tiger Tales, and it is the first one is The Tiger and the Prince, which is about a tiger who befriends a prince. It's right there in the title.
The name is very on the nose.
On the tiger's nose. Exactly.
On the tiger's nose. Cute little tiger nose.
And yeah, but it's fun because The Tiger and the Prince is already written, so that's not going to take much work. The Inspector Chronicles book, the first book, is the novelization of the movie that I already had written, but it's very different. There's a lot more to it than what's in the movie, as is common with novelizations. But it's only got the first draft done, so I have to go back and do a completely another whole draft on it. And I had trouble after I finished the first draft. I was kind of burned out on it a little bit. Yeah. So it's taken me a little bit of time to feel like I'm ready to get back to it, but I am now. So that's
Excellent.
very exciting.
That is all really exciting news.
Thank you. Well, let's get into the conversation about our movies. You want to go movie or sound first?
Let's do movie first.
All right, so your movie was Steven Spielberg's 1987 opus, Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, it sure was. Can you give us a little intro? Tell the crowd who's never seen it what they're in for.
Well, and it's interesting because this movie is fairly unsung in the Spielberg oeuvre. Not many people have seen it or are aware that it's one of his films. This is a movie that stars Christian Bale in his first big movie role as a young British boy living in, is it Saigon?
It is Shanghai.
Shanghai. And as it is invaded by the Japanese at the start of World War II. And so he is taken into a Japanese internment camp and is raised there for several years, separated from his parents, and he kind of builds this new life and has this new kind of improvised family, I guess. And I don't know. That's about it. And
okay.
So I don't want to ruin the ending, I guess. We can talk about the ending.
I mean, I wouldn't call it like a twist ending or anything, but...
No, it's not.
Okay,
So
we
can talk about it when we get there.
I'm going to read something to you, and I think by reading this to you, you're going to get an impression of how I felt about this. Because you said this is one of his unsung movies, right? Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1941, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, The Color Purple, Empire of the Sun.
Okay, so this is that's a chronological release of his movies.
This is an insane run of movies. Absolutely, I've honestly never heard of 1941, but the rest of those are
what?
It
is famous for being bad. Actually.
Well,
it's his shot at a comedy. It stars John Belushi.
I mean, I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Empire of the Sun is also famous for being bad.
What?
Yeah, I gotta say, man, that is an insane run of movies. This is a guy who basically invented the blockbuster along with the first Star Wars. And I think that, the rest of the 70s crop of directors got a lot more credit for being like, true to their vision or gritty or something.
You're talking like Coppola and those guys?
Coppola and those guys, yeah. And it's funny, I was talking this out with my wife a little bit earlier, and I was trying to remember because there's like 3 or 4 like really high profile
Scorsese,
yeah. And I was like Coppola and the other ones. Yep. I said Kubrick, but he's really more of a 60s guy. But anyways,
I would put Kubrick in that same group. Sure.
But my theory is that Steven Spielberg was sick of people not taking him seriously, thinking that he just made popcorn movies, and he wanted to be serious, and so he did The Color Purple right before this, and then he did this. This is adapted from a autobiography or a memoir of J.G. Ballard, who was raised in similar circumstances and was interred during the Second World War. And I got to admit, it feels aimless at a lot of points. And it also... So here's my big reads on it. It feels aimless at a lot of points. Laying the whole movie on a 12-year-old's shoulders is tough. That's a big ask. Even for what we know Christian Bale to have become as an actor, there are a lot of points in this movie when you're just like, I don't know if that was a choice or if that's just bad. And
interesting.
And then I felt like the focus of the movie is simultaneously too big and too small, right? Like, if it's the story of a kid's experience of war, okay, great. But then there's like all these like super dramatic set pieces with like big action scenes and literally cast of thousands of extras, right? This is the 80s. There are no CGI crowds, right?
Sure.
Thousands of extras in a couple of these scenes, especially when they're escaping Shanghai or not escaping Shanghai in his case, and of course it's trying to address, the Japanese military invasion of China and World War II and the perspective of a child in war and the horrors of war and the moments of beauty in war. And like, there's like all this like really, really big stuff, but it's also just the story of this kid. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And I wanted either a movie that didn't have so much epic scope or one that didn't focus so heavily on this kid. 'Cause I got to admit, I don't feel like the kid is the most important or most interesting part of this movie or the most interesting character in this movie. So it does feel weird to have like a 2-hour and 40-minute movie about the character who's not the most interesting character in the movie.
Well, but I mean, it's interesting that you say that. I feel like it's a perspective movie, right?
Right.
So it's seeing his perspective of the film, and I'll admit I did not have a chance to rewatch it. I've seen this movie a dozen times at least. It was one of the ones that I really liked to watch when I was a kid, when I was only a few years younger than Christian Bale. So I think that's one of the things that connected me with the movie at an early age. But so I can't speak to if it holds up, but in my memory it does. And I love John Williams' score. I still listen to that, and I love the music. There's a couple of Jim is Bale's character is in a choir, in a boys' choir, and the singer who provides his voice has this just beautiful, clean voice that he sings some of these arias. And I still listen to them and am, made teary-eyed because of it. But it's interesting that you had that take on it.
Yeah, obviously it's a beautiful movie. The cast is unreal, right? Joe Pantoliano, Ben Stiller, looking like he's
a young Ben Stiller,
just out of high school. Is he in high school? He might still be in high school in this movie.
He was a little kid.
He looks very young. Amy spotted him right away, and I was like, no, that's
John
not
Malkovich, though. Miranda Richardson.
John Malkovich, Miranda Richardson. Yeah, it's a really very, very good cast, but I just didn't feel like the story. Yeah, I wanted it to be smaller or bigger. There's also a lot of history that is sort of hazily referenced in it that is not explained. If you're not a huge World War II history buff, there's a lot of stuff that just sort of happens that you're not sure what the heck is going on. Like, it was not at all clear to me that this camp that he was in was just outside of Shanghai. I found that out from Wikipedia.
Yeah. Did it matter?
Yeah, I mean, having a sense of place matters. Yes, absolutely.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think for me, one of the things that I like about movies like this, and the thing that it does is when you're looking through the eyes of a child, there are things that the child doesn't know. He doesn't know where in the world he is. He doesn't know what else is going on in the world. Like, the scope of the war is so far removed from his personal experience when all he's trying to do is survive. And, he's a kid who still likes airplanes. And he just kind of misses his family, but also has to grow up very quickly.
Yeah,
that's what I like about not necessarily being given all that information.
No, I absolutely agree with you. It does a really good job of sort of ruthlessly sticking to the perspective of the child, and it's probably because it's from a memoir by J.G. Ballard, who is a celebrated author. But for me, it just didn't work. Like I said, I wanted less or I wanted more. but
That's fair.
This was tough for me. It was a bit of a slog, you know.
Ooh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. It's not. It's definitely a drama, which can be tougher.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a super fun movie.
Yeah, well, in it basically exists as a series of vignettes about his time in the camp.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a good half hour before he goes into the camp, and there's a little bit afterwards, but it's basically a series of vignettes, and some of those are never paid off, you know? There's this extended sequence where they're setting traps for pheasants, and it's a long sequence, 5 or 6 minutes, where he's like sneaking out into the field and nearly caught by a soldier, and he's saved by another soldier, and then we never find out if they caught any pheasants.
Well, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is just what they do, you know. It's what he does every day.
I do understand that, but it did feel like,
I think we can assume that he gets pheasants at some point. Maybe not this trip, but it's
right. I guess I didn't understand why we had to assume that. Like, have a little meal or something. It's okay. You know,
okay.
There was definitely plenty of time in the movie to have, you know, those dots connected. But
yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I understand what it was trying to do, and I agree that it did the thing that it was trying to do. I just found the thing that it was trying to do pretty tough.
That is fair. That is absolutely fair. I will say that at the end, when the happy ending happens, and Jim he's this older kid now, and they take the older kids and they put them in these groups and have parents, you know, come by to see if they can find their children. He has long since given up on the idea of ever finding his parents ever again. Doesn't remember what his mom looks like.
Yeah, he says that actually was well set up. See, that was the kind of like, hey, here's setup, and then there's payoff later in the movie that I felt like it could use more, like it could have used more connections longitudinally through the movie, you know?
Okay. Yep. But when he's standing there in that group of kids and his mom sees him, and they connect, it just makes me cry every time. Every time I watch the movie, I would have to call my mom immediately afterwards and tell her how much I loved her, just because of that. So.
And did you also remember what she looked like?
I do remember what my mom looks like. Although it is interesting, now we've been FaceTiming a lot more recently because I finally got her internet at her farm through SpaceX, you know, satellite internet, and so I'm seeing her face now, and it's not the face that I had in my memory of her.
Yeah,
that's which
really
is
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you rate it?
Oh God!
I'll accept that it's not a perfect movie. By the way, I will give you that. And even Spielberg said Empire. I think the quote that I read was Empire wasn't a commercial product. It wasn't going to have broad audience appeal, but he's earned the right to fail commercially, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, he knew it was not a great movie.
What did it make? It made let's see, it cost $25 million, and the box office was $66 million. So not awful.
He made for only $25 million. That's really impressive.
Yeah. Movies were not very expensive back in the day, and a drama over $25 million was fairly unheard of.
Yeah, this is true.
Back in the 80s.
there was a lot of real airplane footage in there, and so anyways, God, I please don't hate me. I
won't hate you.
Okay, well, I give it.
You've been very generous with your scores for my movie choices thus far. So
yeah, well, I'm gonna give this one a 3. I did not.
Whoa!
Yeah,
below average even.
Yeah, I did
Oof.
not. Yeah, well below average. I mean,
that
Travis,
does hurt a little bit. I wasn't ready for that.
I tried to prepare you, but apparently there was no preparing you.
I thought you were trying to prepare me for like a 5 or a 6 or something, but
you thought I was trying. I've told you. I warned you last week. I am all about using the whole scale. This every movie is between a 6 and an 8 thing. That's not me. That's
Oh no, I agree. No, I absolutely will agree with you that there are movies that are lower numbered movies for sure. All right, but I think for me, I don't remember. I think I rated it pretty high on IMDb, but I think without rewatching it, just as it exists in my memory,
Yes.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay. I would have guessed 9 for you. I would have guessed 9.
I think probably it was a 9, but you've talked me down to an 8.
I'm really curious. We might have to do a little sidebar next episode to see if you can watch this movie and see if
really
you
like
still
to
feel the
rewatch it.
same way about it that you do in your memory.
For sure. But that is an interesting thing too. When the emotional connection we get to movies from our childhoods does linger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there are some movies from my childhood that I've rewatched, like specifically I was thinking about The Dark Crystal, which does not hold up for me.
Oh no.
And yeah, I did not like it when I rewatched it as an adult.
Yeah.
But Labyrinth does.
Labyrinth absolutely does. Dark Crystal has some really... I mean, I don't know what you didn't like about it. There's some really beautiful imagery and, obviously stunning puppetry. But, as a movie, it is just a little, not quite there. Which is disappointing.
It was. And so I haven't even watched the series yet.
Yeah.
So... Were we talking before we rolled about you were watching Andor now?
I am watching Andor now. Yep. And I've
awesome.
recommended the Willow TV series to you.
Yeah, and so that was
a lot more
which
humor.
I rewatched the movie recently, Willow, and
was there a lot
still
of
great.
Was there a lot of humor in the movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, the TV show is very much the same way.
Great.
Lots of humor, action, romance, good stuff.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to hear that it was good because I had not given it a try yet, and I've been watching a lot of mediocre stuff.
You might want to wait. They're almost done with it. I think 7 episodes are out. You might want to wait to see if they land the plane.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you know.
That is important. And I will say that Andor got better and better as it went, and I don't know, how far are you into it?
Episode 11. I was in the middle of. Yeah. Until you called me.
Nice. Okay, almost done. But oh man, great stuff. So, all right, fantastic. Well, let's talk about music.
Let's talk about Odd Blood by Yeasayer. So
I am so excited.
I'm excited
to talk
too.
About this.
I'm really curious. Just as a reminder to everyone, I chose Odd Blood by Yeasayer not because I have a big overarching plan for what I want Travis to listen to, but because I had listened to the album shortly before recording last week and really reminded myself that I loved it, and I thought, this was a good one for Travis to listen to. It's upbeat. Let's go for it. Yeasayer is a American, I want to say rock only because... it's hard to find a term that exactly describes them. Experimental rock band, maybe.
Okay.
A lot of keyboards and synthesizers, but
you know who was called to mind was Oingo Boingo.
Oingo Boingo. Wow, that's a compliment, I think.
From the 80s. Yeah. Well, I mean, who was the lead guy on that? It was
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very kind of that feel, a little odd, a little strange, but so fun.
Yeah.
Except for the first track in the album.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which when it started, I was a little pissed at you.
Yeah.
For assigning this album to me because I was like, it is dark and grinding and not pleasant to listen to in the ears, and
okay,
it is worst way to start an album. I don't know why they did this.
This is where I need to remind you that you should definitely listen to the podcast, because I distinctly remember telling you to listen to the song Ambling Alp a couple of times before listening to the album. And if you had done that, I think you would have been okay.
I listen to these when I'm on my hikes, and I just turn them on and I start to play, and I can't be bothered going forward and backward and doing all that. But this song played, and I was trudging through it.
So this song is a 3. Is that what you're saying?
The song is a 1.
That song is a 1.
I hated it.
Okay.
I hated it.
Hated it.
And I will. It pulls down the value of the album, especially as the first song on it. Like, if it had been at the end, if it had been like a bonus track of like, here's an experimental little thing we did, then I might have been okay with it. But as it stands, so let's take track 1 off the
Track
board
1 is
for a little
off
bit.
Track 1 is off the table, off the board.
There we go. The rest of the album is delightful.
Yeah.
It is fun. It is playful. The problem that I had with last week's album's lyrics being a little too much isn't the case here. The lyrics are interesting and clever and evocative, but just like at the right level.
Yeah.
And a couple of the songs, like you mentioned, "Ambling Up" is just a delight to listen to. I have thumbed up it. I have given it a thumbs up on my
a bold choice.
Yeah, on my, and I don't do that willy-nilly. A song must be, and I have actually thought about this because I thought about the disadvantage that you have assigning me music versus me assigning you movies, and that is to say that it is a lot easier for a movie to be awesome on one viewing.
Sure.
I think, than possibly it is for music to be regarded as a favorite thing on one listen.
Yeah.
But I will say that this came really close to that.
Wow.
Once I got past that first song, I was just walking along, really enjoying every track was a little different.
Yeah.
They were all all
Yeah,
had
this
some
is
sort of,
this is not an album where you're like, wait, is this the same song or is this a different song? Like every song has a very unique feel. This is early in their career. They had done, I think this is their second full-length album, and they had done earlier stuff that was, I would say, more experimental, weirder.
Oh, okay.
This was kind of their play for, mainstream success. Clearly, it was a different time, and I think
Well, it's 2010. It's not
2000.
that long ago.
Yeah, but in terms of like mainstream success, MGMT had been really big with a few tracks, and they're.
It's funny. I've never heard of that. Is that another one of their bands or a different?
No,
different band,
MGMT is a different band that had some pretty wild success with some weird burbling synthesizers and things that are sort of in this range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I also especially liked Ambling Alp is not the only song that I thumbed up.
Okay.
I also did that. Can you guess the other song? I'd be curious.
One.
No, close. One was good. They were all good.
Yeah. What is it?
I really liked Rome.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. Rome was just a lot of fun to listen to as well, and so overall, really fun album. I've a couple of the songs will certainly make it into my regular playlist, in so much as I listen to music, which is not a whole lot.
Oh, I'm really excited for you to make like a mixtape for your next boyfriend, and then you'll just drop Ambling Alp in there, and you'll seem 8 times cooler.
That could be interesting. Yeah. So I don't know.
Here's
if
a few
I have
things
a lot
I've
more to
found
say about this, though.
You probably haven't heard of it.
You probably haven't heard of this. It is extraordinary how unaware I am of music that is out there. Like the stuff that you have assigned me, I had heard of the Decemberists, but I had never heard of this band at all. And certainly none of these songs were familiar to me, which was also interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy's voice that I had a problem with the guy's voice last week. This guy's voice was much more pleasant to listen to, even though it wasn't traditionally like styled. It was easy to listen to, and it also felt like he had a control over his voice that maybe last week's guy didn't, and so maybe it sounds like he was a better singer.
Sure.
You know, so I really enjoyed that. What else? I mean, just the instruments were fun. I liked the beat. I liked the pace of the songs. A lot of them were kind of faster paced, which made them, I don't know, kind of joyful.
Yeah, I would say that this is a joyful album for sure. There's a lot of, the lyrical themes are not terribly deep, but they're interesting, and you can like spend a little time with them burbling around in your head and get into it for sure. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I really did appreciate it. I think that I will give the album a pretty good score. I would say, you know what? I would say probably a 9. I'm thinking, I almost compared it to something like Made in England or River of Dreams, which are some of my favorite albums,
Wow.
and which are just a really good album. This I would give a 9 if it did not have that first song on it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make you a special playlist just for you. Nobody else can have this. I'm going to make it unlisted. It's going to be the whole album without that first track on it. It's going to take me a while. I'm going to have to spend some time in the mines trying to figure out, hacking away at that first song, excising it from the playlist. But I will do that for you because I love you.
Oh, thanks so much. If my advice to any listener that tunes in and finds the albums on our YouTube Music, and I think you can go into the show notes probably.
Yes.
Do you list them? Yeah.
The show notes.
They are in the show notes, and find these albums. Probably, as a rule, we should probably put the album we're talking about and also next week's assignment in the show notes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We probably should actually.
Yeah. But so you can hear about both of those. But because we want you to listen to next week's album with us.
Yeah. So. Absolutely.
But this was good, and with that song, now I would say the addition of that song drags this down a point or two.
Okay. Okay. Let's now calm down.
It's a bad addition.
Yeah.
Someone should have said, cut the children out of this album.
This blood is too odd.
It's weird. It's weird, and it's I don't know. I'd be curious to ask someone why.
Travis, not a fan of the minor key.
Whew. I like happy stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm on record as saying that, I think.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, I will give this album a 9, and even with the first track, because I actually enjoy things that are noisy and dissonant and weird.
Well, and I was going to say to the other point though, that even albums like Made in England and what is the
River of Dreams,
River of Dreams that I mentioned, they also have a bad song each.
Oh yeah,
that I don't like from each album. So
a bad
I think song is not
really. Yeah, it's really common. Bridge Over Troubled Water. Have you ever heard the song "So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright"?
Not that I know of.
Oh, just atrocious, and it keeps that from being a perfect album. It really does. Like Bridge Over Troubled Water is just like, Cecilia and Bridge Over Troubled Water and The Boxer and America and like all these just absolutely classic tracks. There's a couple of things from their live concert in Central Park, and then the end of side 1 is this incredibly slow, boring song, the lyrics of which are "So long, Frank Lloyd Wright. Architects may come and architects may go, but never change your point of view." Wow, it's
a candle in the wind.
It's a candle in the wind for Frank Lloyd Wright.
Frank Lloyd Wright.
So bad. It's so bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Go. It's their goodbye Norma Jean for Frank Lloyd Wright.
Goodbye, Frank Lloyd.
All right. Well, that's great. Let's
talk about next week.
Next week, man, yeah. I have, for the first time, a movie independent of your song choice, and it is topical.
Oh, a topical movie.
Because, should I just give it to you?
Yeah, yes, you should just give it to me. Give it to me as fast as you can, Travis.
No verbal
lubricant.
lubrication at all.
No.
Here it is.
Here it is.
No, I am going to have you watch the best movie of 2022, which you possibly have not seen, but it is, in my prediction, going to win without nominations even having come out yet. It's going to win Best Picture. And that movie is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we talked about it a little bit last week, so I suspected this might be coming. Is it on?
I think it's appropriate because in our time, we are coming into the Golden Globes, which air in 2 days. Okay. And it is nominated for Best Comedy and Musical, which it is not, really. But that has never mattered before. So it's not nominated for drama. And the thing about this movie is that it is fun, and it does have comedic moments, but it is also got very serious themes of family and the relationship between a mother and daughter, and it's got very deep themes wrapped up in wacky, fun, stuff. So now I'll preface this by saying I have seen this movie twice in theaters and loved it each time. I have talked to two people, separate people, who've watched it at home, whether on streaming or via, whatever.
Can I get a clarification? Two separate people. These are individuals, separate from one another.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Not the same person asked twice.
Right, exactly. Okay. So I thought I made that clear. But they've told me that both of them said they weren't able to get through it. Wow. And that's why they were watching it at home. And I suspect that there is something about sitting in a theater being forced to pay attention and absorb everything about this movie, because it is dense with visual references and all these things that if you're sitting there and you have your phone open off to the side and are having a second screen experience, you're going to miss it, and I don't think you're going to like it as much. Okay. That's my suspicion.
So my promise to you is I will put my phone down for this movie, and I will just watch the movie.
Please do. And I do think try to watch it not alone. If you watch it with somebody, so that you can experience the experience of watching it with another person.
Well, I have useful. Dogs, so I never watch movies alone.
It's not the same. It's not. They don't appreciate it as much.
Okay. Well, they're pretty smart dogs.
I love the baby. I love the fur babies, but yeah. When it comes to, dense metaphor in movies.
Yeah, well, I'm not great with dense metaphor in movie either, so... But we will see.
It's not dense. I don't want to say it's dense metaphor, this movie, but that's...
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to put spoiler alerts up for next episode for sure.
Well, in that next episode, I think by the time we talk again, we will know whether it has won the Golden Globe or not. And by the time our audience listens to this episode, they will know whether it has won.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. All right. Well, I also have a playlist for you. And I asked you this last week. The band Haim, are you familiar with them? All caps, Haim. They are a group of three sisters in California who started a band together, and their debut album is called Days Are Gone, and it's really good. And so I made it.
Can you describe it a little bit? Can you give me a little...
I would call it pop rock.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
I am into pop rock.
Say. Yeah, I would say it's pop rock, and it's pretty straightforward.
How old is this album?
It is from 20... Oh, come on. I was so close. 2013.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So fairly recent.
It's pretty recent. And they've come out with an album since then, which is also pretty good. But this is this is the one. This is the one.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So excited. All right. Well, I think we can probably wrap it up. We're a little bit early. We're going to let you go about 10 minutes early here. And
I can live with that.
Matt, me too. Matt, it's a delight seeing your face and hearing your voice.
Always a good time. Always a good time. Hey, thanks
for
exposing
yourself to me.
Let's redo it. We totally fucked it. Oh, we're just gonna
do it first.
We're gonna go with that. You're gonna expose.
Sure.
Okay.
I am always happy to expose myself to you, Matt.
And I am always happy to expose myself to you.
Oh, thanks. All right. Have a good night. I'll talk to you next week.
Good
Bye.
night, everyone.